then this morning, when I left to go to work, Kiki said she got up, jumped off the bed, and was running through the house.
The audio works.
She sitting here at work trying to how do your kids?
I hope you have some paper. They told me to show up.
His players gonna read it.
Okay, yeah, as long as y'all have everything, I'm just supposed to
I told him, get her outside, get her outside.
All right, 7 o'clock, we're going to call the August 3rd, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Start tonight with a prayer. Everybody bow your head. Most kind of gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings. Lord, we thank you for our town. We thank you for each and every citizen. We thank you for the business we're here to conduct tonight. Lord, we pray that you're with each and every one of these commissioners as they listen and they determine what our future will be. Lord, we just love you and thank you for all things. Lord, just bless this town, bless the citizens, and be with us in all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight we have Angela Yoden, retired E7 Master Sergeant with the U.S. Air Force, to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, I'd like to present you with this certificate. It says retired E7 Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force. And for those of you that don't know, she serves at the high school as the SRO
Yes, sir.
officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we're board members, buddy?
Yeah, really good.
How did we do it last time?
Yeah, I don't think that was there.
Okay, let's get back.
Come on now. Oh, boy. Scoot up, because I'm up against this thing.
And for those who like sample pictures of
Yes.
that,
Don't hide, Bob.
hold your thing up, hold
He's
it.
trying
We
to
do this all
find
the time, so hold your thing up and say.
Yeah, you can come beside him. I can get you. It's wide enough. There you go.
Oh, wait a minute. What do you mean it's wide enough?
The area for all of you to stand flush. Okay. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very much. Appreciate all you do for us.
Trying to help you. Trying to get me out.
No, it's good.
Only proof.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. She's only 2.5 years.
Yeah, regular team actually agreed to something.
What are you talking
Oh.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the board minutes from July 13th of 2026 and the closed session minutes.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
I have first and second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 4-0. All right, next on the agenda is to adopt the agenda for the August 3rd, 2026 meeting. And with that, I'd like to request, or T.A. King has requested to add a set of budget amendments, which is batch number 497902. And also, we would like to add a resolution or road closure by the police department. Need a motion?
Motion to approve with the additions.
Okay, and we'd like to add them as items number 11 and 12. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. Budget amendments is 11 and PD is is 12. I have a first. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 4-0. All right, now we need a motion to adopt the revised agenda for August 3rd.
Make a motion that we adopt the revised agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All right, have a first and second. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0.
Yes.
Next up is comments from the board. I have a few I'd like to make. T.A. King and I attended the Johnston County Park ribbon cutting in Cleveland community. Phase 1 of this project is complete and offers 4 pickleball courts, 2 basketball courts, a small walking trail, and a fishing pond. This was the beginning of a beautiful park for Johnston County, and we hope that one ends up on this end of the county at sometime soon. Another announcement is that the Princeton Summer Concert Series with Erica Ray Burke was a huge success. I would like to thank all of our administration, public works staff, and officers who worked on this event. It was a great opportunity for Princeton citizens to relax and enjoy a great evening of music. And we estimate somewhere around 250 to 275 by the tickets we give out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Also, the town of Princeton is now accepting applications for the 2026 Golden Key Award. These applications can be found online or at Town Hall. The deadline for submitting them is September 30th. And also a reminder that the Princeton offices will be closed Monday, September 7th for Labor Day, and I would assume that the town would also be closed with the public utilities. Any of the commissioners like to make any statements? That's it. All right. Next up is public comments. Is there anybody that would like to be heard tonight? Rolling right along. All right, we're on agenda item number 8, which is the proclamation for Constitution Week. And I'm going to read that proclamation for Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2026 marks the 239th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitution Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord officially recognizing to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Stacey Johnson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Princeton, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. And I would like to thank, and I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Valerie Howell.
I'd like to thank Ms. Valerie Howell for coming out tonight. Would you like to say anything?
I just want to thank the town of Princeton for continuing to issue a proclamation for Constitution Week, because this is a very important document, and it just reaffirms and helps remind citizens that we need to remember and we need to honor and support the document. So with this being the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, it's just nice to be in a community where this document is recognized as important. So thank you very much. And I am representing the Smith Bryan chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, although I'm also a member of the Mosley Bright chapter, DAR in Kinston. So Kinston doesn't do this, so I'm so proud that I can be here in this community and receive this from you.
Well, thank you very much for coming out to
Yes,
tonight.
thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Picture with it?
Yeah,
Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yes, ma'am, and then you'll send it to me.
Yes.
That I'm gonna be in the front this time, where that, we won't have to worry about
Right here.
it being too wide.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. All right.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
What is your phone? How many cards? 059. There you go. Thank you very, very much.
We've had the picture, but we do need to adopt this, so can I get a motion to adopt it?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we adopt the proclamation for constitutional.
I have a first and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. And the motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get second.
You too. All right, next on the agenda is the mayor's resolution. And everyone of y'all should have had this in your packet. And with that, this is the discussion we had last month, and we're just going to adopt this resolution, or not adopt it, based on your vote. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It says there, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Princeton, Section 1, Statement of Intent. The board hereby states its intent to consider adoption of a charter amendment ordinance that would amend the town charter to change the mayor's term of office from 2 years to 4 years. Section 2, that the public hearing scheduled is a public hearing on the proposed charter amendment is hereby scheduled for the date of September 14, 2026, 42 days after August 3rd, 2026. Time 7 p.m. and location is right here at Princeton Town Hall in the board meeting room. And we will do that by public notice and etc. Any questions before we vote on that?
Can you share again what are all of the ways in which we offer the public notice? How is that shared?
I'm going to.
That will be, it will be in the, it will be in the paper, there'll be a Facebook page, and there'll be a post on the door.
Okay, so it will be on social media. Unfortunately,
Yes.
that's just how a lot of people
Yes.
get their information, young
Mhm.
folks.
So was it publicized for tonight's meeting?
No, because it's not.
We have
All we're doing tonight is just saying that we want to go forward for a public hearing. And then we'll present it for the public at the next meeting. And then it'll be voted on the following meeting. So you got 2 more meetings before you would amend the charter.
So at the September 14th meeting, you may have just said this, and at the September 14th meeting, will we make a vote at that time on
No.
anything? We just hear it out? Okay,
Right.
okay.
You're going to hear the public at that
Okay,
time.
okay.
Can I get a motion?
And mine is not a question, but I'm just going to state again that my no vote is not a reflection on the capacity of the mayor at all. Because I think he's have done a very good job. That my caution again is that the citizens through voting probably dating back 3 to 4 decades, that the citizens have shown that they will that they will vote a mayor to stay in office for long periods of time. I think when Mayor Hope served as mayor, I think he served at least 8 years. Mayor Don Raines served for over 20 years. The only recent mayor that we've only had one that was elected for a 2-year stretch and was voted out in 2 years. And let me reiterate that during that 2 years that this city was close to falling in. And the citizens took corrective action to ensure that that did not happen. Whenever you have a mayor or any board member, but especially a mayor, during that 2-year tenure, we lost a police chief, we lost our town clerk, we lost the senior person that was in charge of maintenance. And that tells you a lot, that one person can do a lot of damage. And we were fortunate enough that we were able to stand up for 2 years and not 4. I think that history, the citizens, yes, I think the citizens should have the say on whether or not they want that 2 years or 4 years, and that is my reasoning behind the note. And just one comment on the document itself. That I would think that this document maybe need to be that after the resolution of intent to consider is voted on, that I think that the public hearing, somewhat similar to how that we set public hearings for ordinances and whatnot, that those should be separated into 2 votes out instead of just one, I think.
Why would that be?
Oh,
It's just one document.
okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to follow why do you
Well-
think it should be 2?
Well, because we in like standing whenever we do ordinances or whatever, that we said that we vote on it and vote on the public hearing second, because they are are two different things.
Okay, I understand. This would be voting on the public hearing.
I mean,
I just wanted trying to follow where you're going. Okay, all right.
that's just my opinion.
Anyone else?
I always appreciate Commissioner Martin's wisdom, and as I shared last meeting, you were the only one on this board who experienced a time when you had a mayor who was not best suited for that role. And so I can understand why you have hesitancy where we may not. And I appreciate you have that wisdom, Shane.
Well, thank you.
All right, with that said, we need a vote. We get a motion.
And the motion is to adopt, just as it says, resolution to intent. And in that means setting the public hearing. I will make a motion to approve the resolution of intent to consider a charter amendment, thereby scheduling a September 4th public hearing.
All right, have a motion, do I have a second?
Yes.
And a second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor? Right. All opposed? Motion passes 3-1. All right, next up on the agenda is our fire tax discussion.
Hey, how you doing? Travis Johnson, Fire Marshal.
You can put it
Yeah,
back
you
if you
can
want.
hold it.
We push it out of the way.
Jordan, you come over here with me because they have some questions that need your expertise in answering. So, was asked to come tonight to answer any questions about what the Fire Protection Service District fire tax is, or what it stands for, and how it's collected, and any questions y'all may have. I know we spoke to some of you previously, and some of you may not be as versed, but I'll start out by saying we are ending the first year, complete year of the fire tax, and the budget submittal process that we've had. And it's going pretty good. We've had a few bumps in the road, but all in all, it's been a good way of doing business and collecting tax and supporting the fire service in Johnston County. And I'll start that out by any questions y'all may have about the process or where we're at. The county commissioners talked this morning. They didn't vote on anything, but they entertained to engage with the towns that are interested in signing up or being part of the Fire Protection Service District. So they are open to discussion with the towns that has any questions, just like we're here tonight. They're just starting the process. And following that, the county attorney has started a timeline on which, if the town chooses to do this, because it is a town-led initiative to become part of the Fire Protection Service District, that there's a timeline laid out to where they can obtain that in a certain amount of time. By July 1st of next year is what the timeline, because I think they're going to, if the county commissioners choose to do this, it'll be pretty much a one-time thing to do in or not. So, and like I said, it's entirely up to the town if they want to do that.
Well, let's back up a little bit and let's get a little history if we can.
All right.
Just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. I stumbled through this explanation 3 or 4 meetings ago and tried to lay out what we had done. To start off with, in your packet, you should have a agreement that we have with the Princeton Fire Department right now. And that And long story short, it just basically says that we match what the county tax rate is. And that's with the Princeton Fire Department only, that we're the only ones that have that contract with them. I don't know what other towns have. I believe there are some contracts out there, but that's our contract that we have here. So right now, we're sitting at 11.5 cents. It also states at the rating that the fire station has to be, and a lot of little other things, but those are two main points in that contract. And that contract still stands as of now, as far as I know. We were approached about not the Fire Protection Service District, but about, what was the other?
The cost share.
Cost share.
Yeah.
So we were approached about a cost share. And Commissioner Poyet, myself, and Mike King sat through several things with Assistant Fire Chief Jordan Piper on that discussion, and you, Mr. Travis, and discussed that. And what we come up with was, it just looked like the fire station is outgrowing the town, is the best way I know how to say it. It's growing faster than we can keep up with. And just to give you an example, with the reval, our tax rate jumped approximately $55,000 in 1 year. And then this past year, an additional 65,000, somewhere 60 to 65,000 was requested in increase in taxes. And we just can't keep up with that kind of growth. And then we've had to remodel over here, and from what we're hearing the commissioners say is, and from y'all, is that we're growing into a full-time, basically a full-time station where firemen will be sleeping on site, and that the volunteers will continue to volunteer, but we have these on site, and they have to be paid and looked after, and that comes as a bigger burden on our citizens' taxes. So, am I right in everything I just summed up?
You are.
Okay, all right. So that's kind of the gist of the whole thing.
I don't want to mess up your flow. Can I add one thing while we're
Yes.
talking about that? And I also correct understanding that we have been going along with the established tax rate, but also are receiving the requested budget from the fire department, and we then have to decide if we are going currently to fill that difference. It comes before us. The fire department's budget comes before us to decide. Do I have that right?
Yes, under the cost
To a
share.
point.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
It's approved by their board. Their board carries it to the Johnston County Board. The Johnston County Board then agrees or disagrees, adjusts whatever between
The
them
budget, the
two.
budget committee.
And then we're basically given our number of what we have to pay. So we have no say in that
Got it.
on the cost share side.
Okay.
On the Fire Protection Service District side, I think we would just follow whatever the county
That's
does. If we can get into that groove and it's approved, we just,
The county would collect 11.5 cents, and then the Princeton Fire Department submit the budget to the county,
yeah. Okay.
and it would be taken care of entirely.
we would be out of the loop.
Correct.
That's what I was getting. Okay. I got it.
Can you give me the pros and the cons for being a part of this?
It's just depending on what you're looking at. Yeah,
You
depending
wanna
on who you ask.
You want to finish your flow?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Well, he might answer your question.
I think I pretty much got it. I just kind of wanted to give the summary of the three things we're sitting at. And we asked that this year that it remain as is in a meeting that we had with the county. And so we asked to remain with the same contract in which 11.5 cents would be paid, and that was approved, so it is 11.5 cents, as the rest of the county is paid. So,
So, Jordan, you may know the exact numbers of the 11.5 cents. But, you know, 11.5 cents, 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 11.5 the town side versus the county side this year. So the
Percentage?
percentage, yeah.
Yes, so the current breakdown is roughly the county's portion is 75%, and the town's portion will be 25% of the budget. But Commissioner Robinson, to answer your questions, it kind of depends on who you ask, whether there's pros or cons, based on what side of the table you're on. And so for the fire department side of it, the pro would be, we're only having to get approval and funding from one body, not two bodies. And so that would cut y'all out of the approval process or negotiation process of funding towards the fire department here in town. That also, a pro to y'all would be that you're leveraging tax dollars across the whole county versus just right here in the town of Princeton. So that 11.5 cents is currently collected amongst all of the unincorporated areas of Johnston County, along with the town of Wilson Mills. So you're leveraging tax dollars elsewhere and bringing them here to Princeton as well. A con is how you get out of it. I've had conversation with friends over in Wake County, and the town of Wendell is in this situation now to where they were a 501c3. They're now transitioning into where the fire department falls under the town as a town department, and they are in the district trying to determine how to get out. So still more to come on that. We'll be learning from them what that looks like. But conversation I had recently with Mr. King over there was that's not tomorrow for this town. That's years down the road. So 15, 20, 25 years, that may be something that you're interested in. How do I get out of it? But today, based on all the numbers we've looked at, like Mayor Johnson said, the growth of the town and the demand for services is outpacing the tax dollars of the municipal area here in Princeton. And so as our call volume increases, the more demand for services, and most volunteers have a harder time of keeping up with the pace of the call volume, especially weekends and nights, things like that. Everybody's off with their family. Mike knows as well as anybody how that is. And so having people here in the station to answer those calls is a pro for y'all as well as town citizens, because they're right here in town, so they're responding immediately to calls for service here in the town. So those are a few pros and cons that could be looked at.
And the overall vision of the Fire Protection Service District is to be able to fund firefighters in the states and get everybody to an equitable service across the county. Because myself, I'm at Strickland Crossroads Fire Department. That's where I serve at. And it's the second, I ain't gonna say poorest, but the second smallest fire department in Johnson County. We do it totally with volunteers, with a few people during the week paid part-time. And we are in a different situation than the town of Princeton is. I mean, because the call volume is not as much, but, you know, as Princeton grows, you know, it's needing those services that, you know, full-time staff. We're not there yet. So, but as the Fire Protection Service District flex funds, you know, one day that can be a project for Strickland Crossroads. So it's as you need, you know, the Fire Protection Service District grows with the fire department. And that's, you know, I applaud y'all in noticing that, yeah, you're doing okay right now, but a few years down the road, it may cost you a little bit more than you can tax your citizens. So I think that's what you were looking at ahead down the road further more than right now. Right now, you're doing okay, but 10 years from now, when you're staffing a couple of trucks in town, and it's going to be expensive. So,
Well, the thing that concerns me is exactly what you're saying, is that, you know, it's going to grow. It's going to grow exponentially based on, we have no control on the budget. So they determine what they want or need, and they ask for it. And then if somebody up here gives it to them at the county, then we've got to come up with 25% of it. And we don't have a whole lot of say-so in it. And with the cost share, it just seemed like it was accelerating out away from us. And we looked at some ways to merge in, but then after 5 or 6 years, it could get out of hand too.
you still outpace yourself.
It still outpaces. And so, you know, if we have something based on growth, we're good with that. You know, as we add citizens and we add tax dollars, you know, we're good with the growth of the fire department. But just to say, you know, our budget's $2 million and you owe 25% of it, and this is what the number is this year, and, you know, and our tax rate's doing this, I really don't care for that. So we're looking for something that is a steady say a steady incline, but pretty much level for our citizens. So as the time grows, we can maintain that service. You know, that service has jumped. I can't remember. It was what, $100,000 just 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it jumped from what, 5 cents to I can't remember. Wasn't it 5 cents? Yeah, and then we went to 15. Then we had a reval, and then it ended up at 11.5. But our reval was almost 92% increase in dollars. And I mean, man, that was a big shot in the arm for y'all, and it was a big shot in the arm for the town. But you know, we also adjusted ours down as well as y'all did, or the county did for y'all. What was it, 3.5 cents? But it would have been nice if it had come on down to about 8, you know, but it didn't.
And like the commissioners were talking today, it's, you know, if y'all were to come under the Fire Protection Service District, you know, y'all could reduce your rate 11.5 cents, you know, for the citizens in the town. So that's one product.
Well, it reduces it on our side, but it'll add it back on the other side, so it really doesn't help the
It
citizens.
don't help citizens, but it
It's the
helps.
same.
It's the same thing, yeah.
The question I have, it's 11.5 cents now. What do you foresee it being in 10 years? When all these stations that you're forecasting needing full-time help, I mean, the budget right now is plus or minus 42 million. With the staff, you're putting all those stations, your budget just for payroll will be over 30 million.
I can foresee that.
So we've not projected out potential tax rates in the future. One thing that would like to see in the future is projections of tax rates. But we've got to get a grasp on everything else, such as capital projects, as far as station additions, remodels, anything such as that, because some of these stations that we're talking about need staffing, they can't house staffing. So therefore, you got to spend $1 million, $2 or $3 million to outfit the station or build a new station to be able to house those staff members. And so that would be phase one, but we've got to have a plan to get there. And so all that would have to be incorporated into that tax rate, along with the addition of staffing. So where it's going from here, of course, is only going to get more expensive. As y'all are well aware, personnel is the number one cost, and it's reoccurring. It's not like in 15 years you're going to pay it off and it's gone. So if that one's gone, you're going to hire a new one and replace it, so it just never goes away. And so the projection, the 11.5 cent, you mentioned the 42, that's roughly what it generates. But right now, we're funding around 38.5 million. And so the overage allows us to put it towards these capital projects and things such as that in the future, or capital projects as it relates to equipment such as radios, SCBAs, and things such as that. That way it allows that tax rate to stay as low as possible, based on what the commissioners are comfortable with funding. So what it'll be next year or the year after, can't sit here and say, but that is the plan. The purpose of planning is that way we can project rates.
That's the concern I have with the town just saying, let the county have it.
3%.
Because right now, we do have some control over what our taxes are. But once we relinquish it to the county, if all of a sudden y'all in 5 years say, well, hey, we've got to go from 11.5 cents to 15 cents or 20 cents, our citizens have no say so. It's just done.
Their say then has to be directed to the Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah, it's not us establishing that, so technically, we didn't cause it, but we also relinquished our control that we now have.
We don't have a lot of control, but that's
Well, yeah,
one
what
of the
we
things
have.
I don't like is just giving away any control that we have of what our tax dollars are.
What does Pine Level and Micro, what do they pay? Do they pay the full? Okay.
No, so most of those, historically, just from the general knowledge that we have of what they have done, they've funded as they could afford, I guess you could say. And so, whereas the rural rate may have been 12 cents, the town may have only been funding 8 or 9 cents. So in essence, the rural district was subsidizing the fire protection services in the town for that area because they're not paying their equal share or the same rate.
And y'all were matching, so y'all were doing, what y'all needed to.
So the ones you were speaking on is, that's the ones that are absolutely saying, we want to give it to the county. And the reason they're going to, the reason that is because all of a sudden, if they don't, they've got to come up with that money. And the only way they can do it is tax increases to their citizens. So then it's gonna make that board of commissioners have egg on their face because they've not been doing it
Gotcha.
up to this point. So now all of a sudden they're gonna have to do a big tax increase to make up for it.
Gotcha.
They're gonna look,
Mhm.
sisters gonna look and say, what were you doing?
Okay, I remember that.
You won't doing your job, and now you're gonna jack my taxes up.
Mhm.
So instead, they'll just give it to the county will stick 11.5 cents on their tax bill, and then they'll say, well, the county did that.
Mhm. Whereas we're in a better position right now because we've been doing that all
We've
along,
been
so we're
paying.
not stuck with this massive.
No, we could hand it
I
off
don't-
and it would be the same.
I'm not sure whether or not we're in a better position. But let me say this, and I asked the administrator this afternoon that I sent documents with asking questions. And sitting here now, that I'm thinking as a commissioner, that there's too much information that I don't know, for that would prevent me from giving an opinion one way or another which way that this board should go, because this is almost like being taken into a dark room and cutting off the lights. So, and let me ask this question. So, the fire tax, well, and I wrote it down on one of my pieces of paper is what it was. The Fire Protection Service District. Now, so you two represent the Fire Protection Service District.
Johnson County.
Johnson County, yes, sir.
So now tell me, what is the purpose of the Fire Protection Service District?
The purpose of it is to, but, let's see, the strategic, I'm trying to remember.
So historically, we had 26 tax rates amongst the whole county. That
Right.
Each individual district had a tax rate. So we had ranges from 6 cent, which was the Nahana district, which is where I live, which we no longer contract with them, all the way to 15 cent on the western side of the county for the Claytex district. And so with that, you had funding disparities. So you had a budget in one area of the county that was $140,000, and you had budgets upwards of $3 to $4 million. And so, but again, we had tax rates from 6 cent to 15 cent. And so back in 23, I believe it was, the fire chiefs got together and asked the county to fund additional funds for the fire service, which was an amount of $4.2 million. Moving into the first year of the Fire Protection Service District that Mayor Johnson spoke of, the tax rate was set at 14 cent, and that was before reevaluation, but we were also funding that at that point, it was $4.3 million in supplemental funding. And that was money that was injected into the fire service to support additional staffing, fire insurance ratings, technical rescue services, and things such as that. But with that, the commissioner said, hey, we're going to do this, but we want to go to a countywide tax district. And so that's where the 14 cent was established year one. Year two was reevaluation, and they dropped the tax rate to 11.5 cent. And so now everybody in the county, as far as the unincorporated areas and the town of Wilson Mills, is paying the same rate for fire protection. And so that's how we got to where we are today, and why we have that Fire Protection Service District funding all fire departments within the county.
So now, so you were saying that, because I think someone said just a few minutes ago that places like Pine Level, Micro, that they weren't paying at the 11.5, they were paying like 5 or 6. So what is it that the other towns are basically paying for them?
Not currently. That's what Commissioner Holmes explained just a second ago is, hey, they're not paying up to, whereas most of them were 12 cents before the whole countywide fire protection service district was established. Most of those that you just spoke of were, their rural rate was about 12 cents, and those towns were only funding at, say, 7, 8, or 9 cents. And so the fire protection, or the rural district was subsidizing that budget to allow them to provide that level of fire protection in the town. I'm not going to re-quote what Commissioner Holmes said, but essentially, if they relinquish the taxing authority for fire protection in the town and give it to the county, now the county's going to be the one that's taxing those citizens at the 11.5 cents because they won't have a choice at that point. But they will then be paying an equal rate as the citizens in the rural district just in the town.
And the purpose of, the reason they did that was just, I mentioned Strickland's Crossroads again. We were at 5 years ago, we had a $130,000 budget, and we struggled. And we would have to tax our citizens 25 to 30 cents to get to where we're at now. So it took money from other areas of the county and helped us in Strickland Crossroads because we couldn't afford to keep going like we were on the rural tax district. And doing that, we found out the town figured out a formula for cost share that made the towns equal to where they could get an equal share like you were just talking about.
I heard the statement that we probably need to try to get in now before it really gets going, because we may not be able to get in a little later. Could you elaborate on that? And then I guess it kind of goes back to my initial question. I'm hearing all the conversation that's going on, but I'm still trying to cage my thoughts to the point that I keep hearing the fire protection plan, fire protection district, service district. So I'm still trying to see why is this something, what makes this so special? And I guess if you can't just kind of explain it to me like I'm a second grader.
Because it's just a single tax district for the whole county. Everybody puts in and submits the budget to the county, and it's all paid out of one pot. Is where that's at.
So can I answer your first question? So in regards to they prefer for it to be done now, it's not a one and done option. The commissioners at any point, as long as they agree to it, can allow an additional municipality to come into it. I think it's a preference to go ahead and do it in one shot. That way we can do as many at one point. Because once we get that timeline added or sent over to Mr. King, you'll see the steps that have to be completed. And there's a lot of steps in there, such as resolutions from this board, resolutions from the county board, public hearings, direct mail notices. All that goes into play to even be able to allow the town this option. And so all that takes time, all that takes money, especially when it comes to direct mail notices. So I think that is the preference, to have a one and done type scenario, but it's not necessarily that it's one time option and you can never do it again. That's just, I think, a preference of our board to get this thing moving and give everybody an opportunity to do it now. Thank you.
I will also say too, on our tax card, when it comes in under the town, our taxes are looked at as 68.5 cents. Is it 47 already?
47.
Yeah, so 47 and 11.5. It looks like 68.5 cents. It does not break that fire tax down. But when it comes in on the county card, it shows their tax rate. It shows,
58.5.
58.5. Yeah, 58. I was up there wrong. Yeah, 58.5. And so when it comes in on the county, it sounds better because they've got their tax rate, then they got the 11.5 cents fire tax. and then it shows, that's all it shows on theirs. So, you know, the town kind of absorbs that fire tax rate in its tax rate, and people can't see that when it's sent out on the tax card.
And like they mentioned this morning, and like I started out with, it's the town, it's all, you know, we're not selling anything. We're just telling you what's out there and what's available, and, you know, it's the town, in the end, it's the town's decision, whatever the best for the town. And that's it.
So let's just say that, you know, we opted not to do this. Would our fire coverage differ any?
That's where,
It could, that's up to the fire department, because if, such as this year, this budget year, if, again, it's a 75-25 split, but I think y'all fell into the 3-year phase-in, if I remember correctly. But any amount of funding that is not covered by the town, that is a loss of revenue for the fire department. So for easy figures, let's say the budget is $1 million and it says the town's 25% and the county's 75. So that's easy, 250, 750. But the town says, hey, we can only do 250. That budget is now short $50,000. So the fire department would, in essence, have to figure out where can they make that cut of $50,000. And that may be one staff member per day that you're having to relinquish just because the funds are not there to pay that staff
It'll
member.
impact our service.
So staffing is the largest budget item, and I don't want to say it's the easiest to cut, but not scheduling that one guy every day is a cut. And so that is a decision that y'all would have to make as a board in conversation with the fire department on how that would look or how that would work. So we the county, are not involved in the negotiation of the budget. We're just basing it on the cost share formula, saying, hey, this is what we're gonna pay. Cost share says this is what the town should pay, but we don't tell the town what they will pay.
But ours is still based off the 11.5 cent.
Correct. Y'all's
So-
document
so if
there.
if we're putting in our 11.5 cent, we're putting in what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because y'all approved the budget, but you also set the tax rate.
Right, but I think going back to that document, one thing you gotta keep in mind is that document was drafted back when we had our individual fire service districts for funding. And so ours in the town went from the rural district went from 5 cent to 10 cent. I think we went to 12 cent if I remember correctly. And so we were taxing our rural citizens at 12 cent, and so y'all were also matching that. So the fire department works within those means of whatever tax dollars are generated based on that 12 cent. As I explained earlier, that 11.5 cents is now generated based on all of the service district within the county. And so we're leveraging tax money across the district or across the county back on this side of the county. And so in essence, that 11.5 cent starts going up higher than what your 11.5 cent really generates over on this side. And so that's where, as Mayor Johnson was talking about, the long term, as we continue to leverage tax dollars across the county, the tax dollars over here just ain't keeping pace to that 11.5 cent. I think that's what he was trying to explain earlier in the overall funding of it.
So now, there are, each town has their own fire district, correct?
So each town is responsible for providing fire protection. We've got 4 municipalities, Selma, Smithfield, Benson, and Clayton. Their fire departments operate under their town. So it's a town department just like your police department. The rest of them are, the fire protection is provided by a nonprofit 501c3, just like here in Princeton, through contract with the town.
So, let me ask this. So, is what's been proposed that the Johnston County Commissioners do, that they will bring the different town fire departments in, and they'll sit down and look at their budget? Is that correct?
Correct.
And so the county commissioners are saying that we have the right people that can analyze the budgets that these fire departments put forth.
A budget committee, yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, once they do that, they will, give an opinion on whether or not the budget that has been, submitted by these different, cities, whether or not that they appear to be accurate. Reasonable for funding. And so, one of the questions that I have is, why, that it would seem that it would be more expensive to have all of these different fire departments and each one operating at different levels. It would seem that it would be more difficult and probably more expensive to do those with each town, rather than there be a fire department period that is funded through one funding source, where that all of the fire departments that they would just be part that the county would just have a county-wide fire department. Just to me, that seemed to be would be more feasible and probably more cost, that the cost would be able to, you would be able to keep the cost down, rather than trying to do all of these different things here, because a lot of, I would imagine there was a lot of duplication where you were buying very expensive fire engines and whatnot, whenever you may be able to station them here, there, or there. And what I don't want to see happen is that we get into this political thing where we fail to do the right thing because we're paying more attention to our politics than we are what to actually fund the fire service that will best operate in Johnston County. Good. Because that's what I'm thinking about.
I will agree and disagree with you on a 50-50 split. And my disagreement is staffing. So currently, we leverage volunteers that operate. Most of them do it for what's called a stipend, pay-per call, things like that. And so it's a very cheap service. So if we went the route that you're kind of talking about right there, volunteers gone. And so we're having to pay 100% of all firefighters in this county. It gets really expensive then, because you're talking at least 9 to 12 firefighters per station just to fill up a shift, and that's not including with people taking off on vacations and things like that. So I would say from the county's perspective, the longer we can leverage volunteers throughout this county, the more sustainable that 11.5-cent tax rate will be. But at the point we start having to pay more and more firefighters, the cost goes up exponentially, and so that would be my disagreement. But you did have some valid points in there about duplication of resources and things like that, and trust me, I agree 100% with that statement. And hopefully, us as a county fire protection service district, we can kind of navigate that as a county as we're operating today and limit that duplication of resource and be a tax savings to the whole county. And that way we can save some money and maintain that 11.5 cent rate as long as possible.
And what we haven't mentioned is, there's policies in place that say when this department gets to a certain amount of calls or when they need staff. Because like I mentioned, Strickland Crossers, we don't need 24-hour staffing right now. It's not needed there. But when we get to this round numbers, 500 calls a year, then we may need to look at it. So we're trying, the equitable service is different depending on where you're at.
Yeah, you're looking at, I believe we had around 205 calls last year in the town.
Sounds close. I'd have to look back at it.
So do you actually mean in the town or in the district?
In the town.
So last year we ran, I believe it was 779, 769, I think it was 769, and we're on, the Princeton Fire Department is projecting to go upwards of 800 calls this year. And again, that's still breaking it out based on town and county, and so we're in the midst of, we'll begin working to collect the 25-26 data to plug into the cost share formula and see the updated breakdown of the 75-25 split, what it may or may not adjust to.
What is, I wanted to jump just a second onto the fire station rating. You got like a 1 through 9, is that correct?
Yes.
1 being the best, 9 being the worst.
9 means you meet the minimum requirements to be a rated fire department.
Okay. And we are currently, the Princeton Fire Department is currently a 3?
Correct.
Okay. And we're doing a lot of stuff, a lot of renovations over there, and this is nothing against them. I'm just trying to make sure all the commissioners understand this, is that by people sleeping there and working out of that facility, does that increase our rating?
Yes, so that increases your staffing credit, company personnel credit. So the more company personnel, meaning they're on the schedule and they're staying at the station, you get more points for that versus a volunteer responding from home.
So basically, response time, because you have men, boots on the ground, can get the truck and get to the site.
Right, so they're credited different. Somebody sleeping and staying at the station on a schedule is credited different than a volunteer staying at home responding from home to the station.
And the goal is to get to a 1?
Everybody strives to be a 1, but I'm going to sit here and say that's not practical with this fire department at this point, because it takes a lot of personnel and additional stations for deployment to get to that 1.
And
Is-
there's a few 2s in the county, and everybody's a 5 or less.
Okay, and I understand striving for perfection, but isn't there a balance to where it becomes unreasonable to fund, especially with a town of 1,500 citizens? It becomes a problem to fund. So we pay. Let's just say we're paying 50 cents for fire protection instead of 11.5. To make it a 1, and let's say we get a reduction on our homeowners insurance of $25.
Right.
And, so you've got to kind of weigh those things. I really think we have a real good fire department as it sits now. I hear all kinds of accolades about them, and about all of y'all, and we appreciate that. But I just wonder, it becomes how good is good, and just striving, because check the box, so to speak. We got to have a ladder truck for 1. All right, that's a check. We got that, but you done paid what, $2 million for it.
Yeah, and I think to me, the ISO rating is not a good depiction of what your department does. I mean, you can have a ISO class 2 or 3 rating, and you get a house fire tonight, and when you leave, it's nothing but the foundation left, and guess what? You're still a 2 or a 3. So it doesn't accurately depict what kind of service you're providing. What kind of service you're providing is depicted in response times. How long does it take you to get that truck en route? How long does it take you to get on scene and start doing CPR, things like that. So those are what you really have to look at as far as the quality of service that is being provided, and what you as a citizen or as a council are willing to pay in taxes or tax your citizens as. So that to me is more of the fair depiction of what are you paying for, what are you willing to pay for.
This might be a dumb question, but how is the tax rate determined, the fire tax rate determined?
So initially, when we set it at the 14 cent, it was figured based on what are we already
Get your windows
funding
up,
these
if they're
fire
not.
departments. Plant the door open. We refueled off. So the 14 cent was established based on what we were already currently funding the fire departments at with their individual rates. And so if memory serves me correct, that was around $26 to $27 million. So we had to at least set the rate to incorporate all of that funding. But then we also wanted a little bit of cushion, some rainy day fund balance for the entire district. And so it was set a little bit higher. And then moving forward, the 11.5 cent came from, there was a group of departments that received, the lower wealth received a 70% increase on the reval year. There was a group that received 50%, and then there was a group that received 30% increases. So once we did the math on all of that, we come up with a new number, which I believe was 30, I think it was like 36 million. No, it was 35 million. So 35 million. So we knew we had to have a rate that covered that $35 million again, plus some fund balance money. That's where the 11.5 cent was generated from. This year, the commissioners kind of sent word of, hey, we don't want to touch this rate, work within the 11.5 cent. And so that's how it was set this year. We just didn't move it.
Because I guess, which, by the way, y'all have incredible patience, because I know you probably heard so many questions over and over, every far and wide when you're talking.
It's different for everybody. Everybody's got different questions, so it's a different
And
scenario.
some of these questions might be crazy, and you're being very patient, so thank you. But I guess I'm trying to look at it. So initially, I see this as Princeton receives a great benefit because our tax dollars are such that we, as Mayor Johnson said, that y'all are outpacing us, and so now we've got a wider tax base to help keep us up. But I don't understand how the tax rate is determined, because if it is ever such that these larger municipalities require more, and I don't know if that's how it works, but if there's more needed in other places and then that's determined widely amongst the county, then it becomes not advantageous for us, because we are not being helped as much as we're propping up those who have more. Is that, I guess that just would depend on how that rate's
And I
determined.
think the cost share part is what, the cost share is on a percentage. Percentage of call volume. There's four different criteria for cost share. And that changes, depending on, for those towns like Princeton, that may change. You get a big business or something come in, that may change to more taxes being levied to Princeton rather than county. I think, is that where you were headed with that?
So I think what you're saying is at what point, or is there a point that the town of Princeton could be subsidizing, say, departments on the west side?
Correct, because right now it seems that we are being benefited,
Right.
as it's being presented. But
Right.
is there a point where, as you just said?
Right. I don't want to say never, but as we all know, the historical growth of the county is on what region of the county? On the western central area of Johnston County. It's creeping this way, but it's slower. Most of the growth that we see around here is residential. And so I know y'all saw that the county did a study based on what does it cost to provide services to the different areas of the county, such as commercial, residential, and that kind of thing. So it costs the most to provide services to residential area or residential homes versus commercial building, because there's not people there all the time. And so, again, I don't want to say that the town of Princeton would never subsidize the other side, but I think, again, it goes back to what I explained with the town of Wendell, that long range, to where now their budget, the town's putting in over 50% towards the fire department budgets, and now they want control and they want say, but they're also bringing the fire department as a town department under their own entity, and so now they're trying to make that change. But a lot of your commercial growth is on the western side of the county, and even Novo Nordisk, it pays this tax district. So again, when I say we're leveraging tax dollars, is big industries such as that are central western Johnston County, that money is being sent over on this side of the county to provide that fire protection.
So now, so the big boys, and when I say big boys, town of Smithfield, town of Clayton, town of Selma, they are never going to sign in to be a part of this because they fund their own departments. And so the revenue through taxes is going to come from the smaller people, such as ourselves, and without those big cities being involved, that I'm thinking that the tax rate for us to provide fire protection is going to, that's just going to be astronomical. And there really is no way of, I mean, that's just like you asking a train to stop in a short distance, that it can't. And without those big players being in here, that I don't see us ever being able to control what fire protection will actually cost the citizens.
But are those not currently in their budget? I mean, that's been the case, right?
Yes.
Smithfield, that's.
So they fund their fire department with the general fund tax rate. But one thing I do want to remind you of when you say the big boys, keep in mind Flowers Plantation, Cleveland, 5210, Wilson Mills, when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, all those areas pay this 11.5 cents. And so those areas have been booming and are still booming. Not just residential growth, but especially like the Cleveland area, Flowers, 5210, they got a lot of commercial growth.
Right.
So you're leveraging that tax base that is paying this 11.5 cents as well. Now those four municipalities would still fall under the cost share formula, whatever that looks like moving forward. I think there's some towns that want to have some conversations and negotiations about what that looks like. But again, we'll get back into that here soon to have those conversations with them.
Question I have on that, has anybody sat down and looked at that district, at what that 11.5 cents is generating compared to their budget? Say like Cleveland, they have a big tax revenue, but they also have a big budget. Is there an excess? Is there money to put into the pot?
Yeah, so those specific that I just mentioned, and we've not done the numbers recently, so I can't stand here and tell you exactly what the overage is. But for example, back when we originally did this and we set the tax rate at 14 cents, the Cleveland Rural Service District rate was 9 3/4. The Wilson Mills rate when we set this at 14 cents was 8 cents. The Archer Lodge area was at 12 cents. So there was 2 cents we were getting from Archer Lodge, 6 cents from Wilson Mills, 4.25 cents from Cleveland. That was all coming into the service district, which was overage at that time, to fund the additional supplemental funding at the time. But what that overage is today, I've not pulled those numbers to really see, but we do know there is an overage, because if not, that 11.5 cent would have never worked. So we're not funding them at 11.5 cent of their district.
Well, with that, okay, if there's an overage, what kind of backlash do you think you can get from the citizens that are feeling like they're paying these taxes and the tax dollars are not staying in their area? They're being sent somewhere else.
So when we established the Fire Protection Service District, we held 5 community meetings around the county. Did have some attendance throughout the county. I'd say Princeton was probably the most well-attended that we had. But when it came to the public hearing and the adoption of the resolution, we had 2 people show up for public comment. Both of those had questioned. They had no opposition to it. That was it. And that's when, so for my area, I went from 6 cent to 14 cent. Other areas went from 8 cent to 14 cent. So everybody paid that additional tax rate year one, and we had 2 people show up for public comment.
But I would guess that the reason you only had 2, because the citizen didn't realize what was about to happen to them. And once they figure it out, it will be standing room only.
To rebuttal that, and unless there were other phone calls received in our office, we didn't receive a single complaint after they adopted the 14 cent tax rate.
Because they were all on Facebook commenting about it. Probably.
Now, I'm not even doing that, but they're gonna comment about a tax rate. I don't care what they do with it. So I think, and that's just me speaking as a citizen more or less, is when it comes to paying for public safety, not a lot of people want to argue with that, because you say, hey, do you want a police officer or no police officer? Hey, I want a police officer. So paying for public safety, I think that is my opinion of why we had very little concern. I think the number one concern was that I heard was, is my fire department going to stay the same? That's it. When you explain that, hey, they're still going to respond to your house just as they do today. All right, we're good. And then there was another one. So I live in Clayton. You mean I got to wait for a fire truck to come from Smithfield? No, that's not how this works. And after you explain those things to them, they were okay with it.
Well, I can understand that and agree with it. But when I feel like if you took my house and you moved it to Clayton, or you moved it to Archer's Lodge area, my tax rate on my house would probably be $150,000 more than what it is right now. So you take somebody that lives in a house here, the comparable house there, they're paying a lot more taxes on it. They're paying a lot more fire tax on it. But yet, those tax dollars are getting sent somewhere else. So, from my standpoint, I don't think I would like it. I can understand it, but I don't think I would like knowing that I'm paying to live where I do. I chose to live here. I chose to have a house of this value, but then my tax dollars get taken and sent somewhere else. That somebody that lives there chose to live there. It's like people that live in Strickland's. It's a rural community.
And
They picked to live there.
I'll share a story about, at the time, the Wilson Mills Fire Chief, they were doing okay. They had, a good budget. They didn't have any problem. His daughter lived at Strickland Crossroads, and he could see the need in sending money from Wilson Mills area to Strickland Crossroads because his daughter lived there. He wanted the same good fire service for her to see him.
Like I said, I can see both sides.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm just waiting for the backlash to come. When you get some people up there and all of a sudden start going, well, why am I paying my tax dollars here? It's not benefiting my fire station here. It's going over there.
So the rebuttal I have to that, and we've used this example numerous times in presentations that we've talked about, and that exact question comes up. How many new schools has Princeton received in the last 10 years? None. But your county tax dollars go to fund new schools in the system. And so where are those schools being built?
Oh, I know.
On the western part of
I'm
the
not
county.
saying I
So
don't
it's all it
understand.
is a clip.
I'm not saying I don't understand.
Right.
I do get it. But I'm just saying, I'm just wondering when the backlash is gonna come. And I think you're gonna see it in some of the fire stations. When all of a sudden they feel like, well, I submit a budget, you cut my budget, tell me no, but you're gonna take these tax dollars that my area generated, and you're gonna send them somewhere.
So you know who you just explained? fire service leaders. Citizens aren't going to be involved in that discussion. It's fire service leaders that are going to stand up for their organizations. But again, that's why we have to go into the planning phase and have those discussions with fire chiefs, fire leaders, and that way we can hopefully mitigate that and not have to deal with that piece of it.
Well, I get it, but I know how people think, so.
A couple points I'd like to point out. That's why ago you said something about you were worried about the shortfalls and y'all increased the tax rate to make sure you had enough funds to cover those shortfalls. And when we start putting all these men in these firehouses across the county, there's going to be shortfalls on that budget. And so there's going to be increases. And there's not going to be an influx of people. The people are coming, but they're coming, pretty much at a steady rate. And we have another thing in the county that's going on is the UDO that's looking to slow things down. And then what is that going to do if the increase with y'all stocking these firehouses with full-time men or firemen, and then the people are not continuing to come? So it's very much like our town that's been stagnant for years and that really was just fighting to keep its head above water. And then, we make all these changes and then something else flips and causes a harder problem or a bigger problem. And then we're trying to fill those coffers so we can keep that. I mean, I ran some numbers that look like it could go to 25 cents. And, we want to have, we got to have fire protection, but I mean, that is also concerning. The other thing is the management of who's asking for all of this stuff. We have no say-so, so we're being dealt, this is your bill, pay it. And it's kind of like Walter said, Commissioner Martin said, you go into a room and you've cut off the lights. You hand us our bill and we walk out and we look what the number is. We can't get back in the room to deal with you. We're out. And so that's a hard pill to swallow. The other thing is the year 24, 25, I think, or 25, 26, it looked like we paid $208,000 into the fire taxes or to the fire station here. We had 205 calls, so that's a total of about $1,013 a call for the town. But if you look at what it takes for us to put up a fire department, and we really don't have a leg to stand on, we're probably looking at $2.5 million investment, minimum. And if you do that by 205 calls, well, our cost per call just went to $12,000 a call. So I mean, we're just a small person or small entity in this situation, and trying to figure out how to go without sacrificing services and keeping it with growth. We either got to have a whole lot of growth right now, which would be bad for us in other ways, or we've got to, wave the flag, and that's what we're trying to figure out how to do. So, just a couple points there.
Well, and if we wave the flag, what is gonna happen?
They take it over.
So you just, the option would be to relinquish tax and rights for fire protection within the town, and then now it turns over to the county. At that point, they set the tax rate. So any concerns with the rate, you would have to address that board.
Which is no different than what our contract states now. We would have to go back and change that contract. And the way I'm hearing it is we don't have the option to change that contract.
Through negotiations with the fire department board, yes. You can renegotiate that
But the
contract.
county is telling us we don't. The county is telling us it's cost share or it's fire protection service district.
The county's saying those are two options. Option 3 is you do what you want.
Can't Micro and Kinley and all, can't they just forever and ever just like, what's the repercussion?
Of not
Of
funding the fire department?
not paying, well, okay, you're right, all right, I answered my question, of not funding it, that's okay.
Eventually, services are going to lack
That's right,
somewhere if
that's
you
right.
continue to over and over and over again not fund.
I don't think there's any board member up here that doesn't want to fund the fire department.
Right.
My concern is, is the fire department working with what it needs, or is it working with what it wants? Is it getting everything it wants? And what drives those wants? And then who governs those wants? And I think if that was all resolved, it's just like going into a good restaurant to eat with a good manager. You walk in, bathroom's clean, food's clean, plate's clean, people are nice to you, you'll continue to go back. It's looking good. But you go into one that's bad, you know it real quick. Toilets are stopped up, you go to the counter, nobody will wait on you. And so, you know, what kind of service is there? And we want good service, we just want to make sure it's where it needs to be. And so, you know, and we don't have a say-so in that. We're handed a bill and say this is 5%.
And I think what you're leading to is just like we're talking about outpacing, I think everybody's concerned that the fire department is outpacing.
Well, it is. It is.
What it really needs here, because our growth is stalled. We've got a little bit of growth coming right now, but we've got a couple subdivisions that have just died. I mean, we've got one over beside the elementary school there. I mean, she knows the people that are developing it. I mean, it's not moving. They're not even talking about breaking ground on it because they got no interest in it. So, you know, I think everybody's just concerned, just move it. And it all revolves around taxes.
Y'all have questions in the future, we're here for you. Hope we've not confused you too
Well,
much
I don't
tonight.
want us to keep talking so much that we start getting down, like tonight, right now, where we've spent some time, and it's been good stuff. And I know I still have plenty more questions, I'm sure all y'all do too, but I don't want us to keep talking down different avenues and this, and it's almost like we need to absorb what we've got, consider it, stick on it more, and then come back and talk about it again.
So what, y'all had mentioned a timeline or?
Yeah, what's next?
The next part is deciding whether y'all go to 5% service district or stay like you are.
And when does
So,
this?
well, so to clarify on that, the next step would be you submit a letter of interest to the county to say, hey, we're interested in doing this, but there's still more steps, as I explained earlier. You still got to adopt a resolution, but before that, you would hold public hearings and things like that on your side. And then it also has to be the same process, direct mail notices, public hearings, and a resolution adopted by the Board of County Commissioners. So there's several layers in there, but what would be next is your intent to proceed with going under the Fire Protection Service District. But at that point, it's kind of like y'all voted earlier about the mayor's resolution. You're still not taking action to definitely jump into it. You've just expressed interest, hey, this is what we want to start looking at doing. So it's very similar to the mayor resolution that y'all adopted tonight.
So you'd said at the very beginning that at the county commissioners meeting that it had been mentioned that they would be open to come in, or how did you say, that they would be to discussing it?
Engaging conversation.
Engaging.
Like we're doing tonight.
What does that look like? Because can we get some of them up here and tell, I mean, when they say engaging us in
With
conversation?
us, I mean, asking questions like we do with staff, yeah.
Oh, like this right
Yes,
now, not those commissioners.
Yeah, they give us permission to talk about it like we're doing tonight.
I think their biggest thing is they want it to be understood that this is not something they are pushing on the towns. It's 100% voluntary from the town boards to choose to go this route. It is solely up to y'all as to if you want to pursue this or not.
It's a lot, it's a lot.
Well, and that the downside that I see to all of this is that I'm not sure that anyone can actually give us figures that are accurate.
Where does it say? It says
We can give you figures. If you give me just a second, I'll pull up what just this year's budget would have been if we were 100% into cost share. So if you give me just a second, I'll pull that up and quote it to you.
I think y'all who have the most understanding of this need to just go into chat and say, for dummies. Make this make sense, and then give it to us.
I think
So the funding breakdown based on a budget of $1.1 million for the fire department. Again, this is roughly a 76-24% split. If you were fully in cost share this year, the municipal funding would have been roughly $272,000. I believe y'all are funding at Michael, help me out, 210, 215?
209.
209, so let's just call it 210. So essentially, if you were following this cost share breakdown, that's $62,000 that you would have to come up with. And I believe the penny value here is right at 20.
About 18,000.
So right at, so close to 20, so that's a little over 3.5 cent increase just to fund the addition of what this cost share breakdown says this year.
3.5 cents.
Yeah, but what we looked at, a difference from last year or the year before that was a $50,000 increase roughly with rebound. So they got an additional $50,000 over what they got the year before, and then come back and ask for an additional $60,000 this year. And then what does that mean the year after? Is it another 60? Or does it hold the same? You know, and we're just dependent on what they're asking for and what the county says is okay. In other words, we got to answer to our citizens for what they're telling us to do. And if they're gonna tell us what to do, might be best to let them in.
There's a lot of pros and cons
Yeah.
to this. It's very hard to feel like I can have a definitive position. I'm just telling, just right now, after having heard a lot before and today, there's a lot of pros. It's kind of like what you said in the beginning. You said, what are the pros? So it depends which way you're looking at it.
Right. If you want the ease of, hey, our contract is for service from that fire department over there with the expectation that they show up when we call for them, and that's all you care about, Fire Protection Service District is the route to go, because at that point, their budget is determined by the county and is funded by the county. The only thing that you say is, hey, you're gonna provide service to us. If you want to say in how much they're gonna get funded from this town, you stay as you are.
But we have more to look at as board members
Right.
than just your,
Yeah, and so y'all are having to weigh out the services that have to be provided by this town to include public utilities, law enforcement, whatever else that may be under y'all's umbrella, administrative staff, and so there's a lot more that goes into it that y'all have to allow to play out and see what your best option is. So,
Are we good with these gentlemen for tonight? Are we exhausted?
Yeah, because I'm about thoroughly confused.
Well, I see why you brought in the.
It's a confusion.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr.
Well,
Martin, I
we
live in Princeton, so anytime you'd like to sit down and talk with Mr. King or whatever, I'd be glad to sit down and talk. Sir,
I thought you lived in the.
I live in the county of Princeton, or the county district of Princeton. I live in the town of Princeton, but I do live over here in this area.
Yeah, because you call it the suburb.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Hey, Mom, be careful out there. My husband just texted me and said, do not drive home.
Yeah, I was texting my wife over here, and she was picking up my son, and so making sure they get where they're going.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Stop for a second.
Yeah, I know, right?
You can go too.
Thank you.
I don't know, you
Bye,
gotta
y'all.
make
Bye,
it to
Jordan.
go home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, anytime.
Yes, sir.
Again, same for you. If I need to come and spend some time down here, I don't mind doing that.
Okay, great. Appreciate it.
Do you know how many
You have
times
a
I've heard
different
that?
job.
It's up and back up. All right, no action was taken tonight on the fire tax discussion. And we're going to move on to item number 11 on the agenda, which is the budget amendments. And we're going to hand that over to T.A. King to explain.
Yes, sir. These are additional budget amendments for fiscal year 25-26. These are all expenses. The revenues have not been put in yet. We're on the plus side on the revenues, but I have not put those in. But these are just expense budget amendments to clean up that as we get ready for the upcoming audit.
When is the audit scheduled to start?
Well, we started uploading everything right now. We're in the early stages, but
Thank you. I say,
we haven't officially scheduled a date, but I'm thinking it's probably gonna be maybe October, what we're looking at when I talk with Austin, middle October. But that's the plan.
Any questions for T.A. King on the budget amendments?
make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
So, this is about $100,000.
The general fund was 45,000, I believe, and the water and sewer was 58,000. This is taking money we didn't spend and putting it in the budget item that we did spend.
Okay.
Just need a second.
Was there a first?
Yes. Mr. Boyd, get me a first. Need a second.
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Holmes, all in favor? Motion passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the PD resolution for the Back to School Bash, which is coming up on August 15th. And we have a resolution here that they would like to close a portion of North Pearl Street from Railroad Avenue to Dr. Donnie H. Jones Boulevard on Saturday, August 15th from 10:30 a.m. till 6 p.m. And the purpose of this closure is to facilitate town activities and ensure the safety of participants and the general public. And the town of Princeton will coordinate with local law enforcement, emergency services, and North Carolina DOT to provide appropriate traffic control measures and ensure emergency vehicle access. And that the road that they're trying to close is in the North Carolina State Highway System, and that it be has been approved by the North Carolina Department of Transportation.
And the time of the bash starts at what?
12:05. If you go to the next page, there should be a little flyer with the advertisement. I believe it's 12:05. And this is a town event that the police department's putting on.
It looks like it's gonna
And we
be
don't
great.
have that.
It looks like it's gonna be great.
12:05.
And I will be in the dunking booth from 12:30 to 1.
And as I've said before, I don't get in Dunkin' Booths. I have a bad back.
Oh.
I have a bad shoulder,
Oh,
and we shan't be engaged.
Well, with that said, I would like to make a motion that we accept this resolution for the road.
second.
We have a first and a second, all in favor? Motion passes 4-0. With that being said, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.
I'm still trying to figure out going in the